So as everybody knows by now, the absolute meltdown that happened in the White House between Donald Trump and Zelinsky. And I got to tell you, I'm not surprised about this. I'm not surprised at all. And I've said this before in the past. I simply do not think that Zelinsky wants this war to end. This is something we really should never have been involved in to begin with. And I think what Zelinsky wants, and I think this is what he's going to continue to want, is just an open checkbook for his war, his never-ending war in the Ukraine. And Joe Biden gave it to him. Zelinsky would say, hey, I need billions of dollars, and Joe Biden would just scrub him off a check for billions of dollars. Hey, I need missiles. Joe Biden would give him missiles. Hey, I need ammunition. Joe Biden would give him ammunition. And we're what, $350 billion into this war now, coming up on $500 billion. And here's the problem with this. We have nothing vested in the Ukraine. Nothing. We're getting nothing in return. We're just handing out. And there's nothing on the other side besides a never-ending proxy war that we were going to be funding for the rest of our lives. Because I can tell you right now, this war's not going to end unless somebody steps up to end it. And Joe Biden sure as hell wasn't going to do it because Joe Biden did not even have the mental capacity to end this war. Zelensky does not want this war to end. I kind of think Zelensky likes the position that he's in. He's running this country, he's fighting this never-ending war, and we're funding it for him. And you know what? Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't even want to know how much money Zelinsky has sitting in offshore accounts right now. I don't even want to know because it would probably make me sick. Because one thing about a war, and that's why they call it war profiteering, is a lot of people get very wealthy during wars. And that's why Democrats love wars. Because let's be honest, the Democrats, not one time did they try to stop this war when Joe Biden was president, but they complained, whined, and cried every single day about the war in Israel because they're not making money off of the Israel war. They're making money off of the Ukrainian war, and you cannot convince me otherwise. And then I get in some arguments with some liberals who has the audacity to say that the EU has actually spent more money in the Ukrainian war than the United States has. All right, listen to what you're saying, liberals. And this is why I like arguing with liberals, because liberals are thick-headed. Liberals are not the brightest people in the world. The EU has spent more money than the United States in the Ukrainian war. I'm going to say that again and see if you catch it. The EU has spent more money in the Ukrainian war than the United States. All right, the United States is a country. The EU is multiple countries. So you actually have an argument that a bunch of countries together have spent more money than our one country, which is the absolute most ignorant, stupidest argument I've ever heard in my life. No other country has spent the amount of money we have spent on the Ukrainian war. We are personally funding this war for Joe Biden and Ukraine. And I've gotten in arguments with liberals. Well, the only way Trump's going to resolve it is Trump's going to give them, part of Ukraine. Okay, so what's the alternative? Let's give them nothing and let Putin continue to roll into Ukraine. And guess what? Then he'll have the entirety of the Ukraine and all the Ukrainians will be dead. That is literally the other option. Or you let Donald Trump come in and make a deal. Now, that's what Donald Trump was trying to do. He was trying to prevent Putin from coming in there and taking the entirety of the Ukraine and killing off all the Ukrainian people, something that Zelensky apparently cannot wrap his head around and something Joe Biden never apparently thought about, nor any of the Democrats. And don't even get me started on the worthless Vice President Kamala Harris. Don't even get me started on that trash bag. Apparently, they do not want this war to end because this step, what happened in the Oval Office, was a prime opportunity to get the tides shifted in Ukraine. And Zelinsky crossed a line. And when he crossed the line, the bulldog, and I got to tell you, when Donald Trump first picked J.D. Vance, I was not that excited. J.D. Vance won me over in the debates. But let me tell you, he is a bulldog. And J.D. Vance felt that Zelinsky, wasn't being very kind to Donald Trump in the Oval Office sitting in the United States. He felt he had disrespected Donald Trump in the Oval Office and unleashed his bulldog directly on Zelinsky, and then things escalated immediately. Now, what you're not going to see from the liberal shill networks like the Communist News Network and PMS NBC with Rachel Mad Dog and Cory Booker, who was on the other day, these clowns who've taken the absolute opposite stance of what most of America should be thinking right now is, why are we funding this war? We have nothing to gain. Nothing. And I don't want to hear, well, we're saving democracy. We're not saving our democracy. If Putin took the entirety of the Ukraine, that would not affect us because we get nothing back out of the Ukraine. We get such little of anything out of there, it would not affect our economy one iota. Now, I understand the point if you cannot let a dictator like Putin come across and take other countries. This has been going on between the Ukraine and Russia forever. Forever. This is kind of like the skirmishes in the Middle East that will forever go on, as it will between the Ukraine and Russia. It will forever go on. Now, do I think Putin has a right to go into Ukraine and take it over and wipe out the Ukrainian people and take all the land? Absolutely not. I do not believe that. But I also do not believe, like I said, that we should be fighting a proxy war on the other side of the world that is costing us hundreds of billions of dollars. And we're getting nothing in return. In steps one Donald Trump. Hey, we're not going to sit here and just keep with an open checkbook and keep giving you money for an endless war. All right. We need something back. We need something for our investment in Ukraine. Let's do a mineral deal, which is exactly what this meeting was about. It was only about the mineral deal. Regardless of what the shill networks are going to tell you for the DNC, that is all this was about. And they're already taking the side of Zelinsky, calling him a hero, this amazing human being, how Donald Trump disrespected him. And I strongly disagree with what they're saying. And I would love nothing more than to get Rachel Madcow on the phone and tell her how much of an American-hating liberal communist she truly is for the news piece she did with Cory Booker. Absolutely disgusting. Cory Booker should be kicked out of government. All right? Donald Trump is the consummate deal maker. That's what he does. And by giving us the mineral rights to the property, that was going to put Americans over there close to the front lines, which would stop the advancement of Russia. Because the first bullet that hit an American, guess what? Now we got a problem. Now Russia has a problem because now you're killing Americans. And you know what? That will not do. That was the best deal for Zelinsky to get to kind of stop the tide of what's going on. Because right now, Zelinsky, and I don't want to hear, he's put up a brave fight and he did this, he did that. They're losing the war. The Ukraine is losing the war. If we stepped out right now, within 2 weeks, Putin would steamroll the rest of Ukraine because Putin has 10 times the bodies to throw into the war than Zelinsky does. And at the end of the day, that's what counts. If you got 100 soldiers marching across and you only got 2 to defend it, your 2 are dead. I don't give a shit how much armament they have. They're dead. So Donald Trump came up with an idea. Hey, we will keep funding the war. We will keep paying you for this, but we want the rights to the rare earth minerals, which helps America greatly because then that stops a lot of dependency on China for this stuff. It's a win-win all the way around. We get rare earth minerals. Zelinsky gets Americans close to the front lines where Putin is not going to go. Donald Trump would have struck a deal with Putin. Hey, this is where we're going to be. You can't come in here because this is what we're doing. Because you know what? I simply can't have you killing Americans. And that would have reshifted the entire tide of the war. But Zelinsky crossed a line in the Oval Office. He's wanting guarantees nobody can make. Just because we sign a deal today, that does not mean Putin will not break it next week. But that gives us a week to see what's going to happen and how we need to react to what's going to happen. Because right now, the only reaction is throw more money and more dead bodies. That's the only reaction right now. More money and more dead bodies. And that is not going to ever solve this problem unless we just back out and say, you know what? Take it. Let Putin take it all. So if Zelinsky wants to save his country and his people, this was the best opportunity for him to turn the tides of the war. But Zelinsky, being the consummate moron, and that's right, I said it, he was sitting there with the key to the kingdom in the Oval Office with the most powerful man in the world, and he crossed the line. This never should have been brought up in this meeting. These are things that he should have said behind closed doors, let them fight it out, hash it out. But he brought this up in front of all of America and the American people for everybody to watch. And when he did that, it first pissed off J.D. Vance. And then when Zelinsky said something to J.D. Vance, then it pissed off Donald Trump. And I'm going to tell you right now, the one guy you don't want pissed off at you is Donald Trump, because Donald Trump will have no problem walking away from this war and saying, good luck. I tried to help you, but you were too stupid to take my hand. And then the Ukraine is gone. Then Putin has it all. And then what? What's he going to do then? Maybe he'll march on to another country. I don't know. Nobody knows. What I do know is there is a way to stifle this war, even if it was temporarily. There was a way to get it handled, and Zelensky basically pissed on that contract, and that pissed off his biggest ally, which was Donald Trump, America. Now, what you're not going to see on the liberal shield networks, the Communist News Network and PMS NBC, what you're not going to see is before all this happened, everything was very jovial. Everybody was having a good time and everybody was cutting up. This wasn't, everybody walking in just pissed off and mad at the world and everything was going to go wrong as soon as it happened. Let me show you a clip of how it was before Zelensky opened his mouth.
You're at the highest, why don't you wear a suit? You're at the highest level in this country's office and you refuse to wear a suit. Just want to see if do you own a suit?
Yeah, problems.
A lot of Americans have problems with you not
Really?
respecting the dignity of this office.
I will wear costume after this war will finish.
Okay.
Yes, maybe one.
Maybe something
like yours.
sir.
Yes.
That'd be great.
Maybe something better. I don't know.
I do like your clothing, by the way.
Yeah, really?
Even though I think he's a great guy, by the way. But I don't know if you two like each other. But you know what? I think he's dressed. I think he's dressed
I like this
beautifully.
guy. I don't know
I think
him.
he's dressed beautifully.
So,
And that's what was going on. A lot of joking around, a lot of cutting up. Everything was great because at this moment, Donald Trump thought, well, hey, we're going to sign a deal. We're going to get the rare earth minerals. We're going to put a bunch of Americans over there. We're going to slow the tide of the war. And this is the best step. But Zelensky, of course, comes out and starts saying the wrong thing and starts basically asking for guarantees that nobody can make him. There's no way we could possibly say ever in this world, nobody could say, hey, if you do this, we guarantee you Putin will never invade again. Because giving us that guarantee means that if Putin does, that we are going to go straight to war for him. And that's never going to happen. We are not going to put American lives, American soldiers on the ground for the Ukraine. We're not going to happen. They're not in NATO. They're an ally, but they're not really an ally. France is an ally. UK is an ally. Those are allies. If they go to war, we go to war. It's that simple. If we go to war, they go to war. It's that simple. If Ukraine goes to war, we don't go to war. You notice the EU's not throwing thousands of soldiers over there because they're not an ally. And he wants to be in NATO, which is never going to happen. That is never going to happen. You cannot put a NATO country bordering Russia. You simply cannot do that. That would be like Russia coming over here and setting up stake in Mexico. We're simply not going to let that happen. You want to start a war instantly, that's how you start a world war. Yeah, sure. Well, yeah, come on into NATO. Even though you're bordering Russia, boom, World War III just started. It amazes me how nobody has the ability to think, especially on the liberal side. He will never be a NATO member. You simply cannot do that because of the geography of it all. You cannot do that. So, with that being said, I'm going to play the clip of where everything went wrong yesterday.
I already mentioned Poland. Poland was under Russian control for decades after the Second World War. When I was a kid, I looked at the United States not only as a most powerful country, richest country in the world, the country that has great music, great movies, great muscle cars, but also as a force for good. And now I'm talking with my friends in Poland, and they are worried that you align yourself too much with Putin. What's your message for them?
Well, if I didn't align myself with both of them, you'd never have a deal. You want me to say really terrible things about Putin and then say, hi, Vladimir, how are we doing on the deal? That doesn't work that way. I'm not aligned with Putin. I'm not aligned with anybody. I'm aligned with the United States of America. And for the good of the world, I'm aligned with the world. and I want to get this thing over with. You see the hatred he's got for Putin. It's very tough for me to make a deal with that kind of hate. He's got tremendous hatred, and I understand that, but I can tell you the other side isn't exactly in love with, him either. So it's not a question of alignment. I'm aligned with the world. I want to get the thing set. I'm aligned with Europe. I want to see if we can get this thing done. You want me to be tough? I could be tougher than any human being you've ever seen. I'd be so tough. But you're never going to get a deal that way. So that's the way it goes. All
right, now let me expand upon that. And I'm going to give you a little story from my own life, my own personal life about how this works. I used to run a medical company years ago, all right? And I had some competitors. Now, I had one main competitor, and I'm going to expand on exactly what he's talking about and why Zelinsky should have kept his mouth shut, why the question that was just asked of Donald Trump is stupid about him aligning himself with Putin. And I'm going to explain to you why it's stupid. So all the liberals who watch this, hopefully you learn something here, okay? What's happening? Like I said, I ran a medical company. I had one main competitor and a bunch of little competitors. Me and the other main competitor, while we were competing against each other, we shut down all the little competitors, took them out of business. They couldn't compete. We were growing too big, too fast. So then it came down to me and one other guy. All right. Now, this guy was running around all over East Tennessee, bad-mouthing me and my company. And I got wind through my clients was coming back to me, pissed me off, absolutely pissed me off. And I thought, all right, you want to start playing dirty? Let's play dirty. So I went full bore, full hard. And I went after every single client he had relentlessly. I did not stop. I was making deals that I probably shouldn't have made, but he pissed me off. And at the end of the day, I won. Because like I said, I was making some incredible deals because he had said so many bad things about me, I wasn't going to deal with it anymore. So I thought, okay, you want to be a complete asshole? I'm going to shut you down. I'm going to ruin your entire company. And I did. And yes, I'm proud about that because business is war. And that was a war. And he crossed a line. He was saying things he should not have said. And I'm not the kind of guy that's going to sit by and say, oh, well, it's okay. Oh, he's just joking. No, you cross a line. You better be prepared to defend your line. And that's what's happening here with Zelensky and Trump. Zelensky crossed a line. His ass better be prepared to defend that line. Well, this guy, after I ended up hammering him, I took every one of his clients away from him. He had one major client left. And I'm getting to a point. Stay with me here. And I knew if I signed that client, that major client, that would be it. That would be the nail in his coffin and it would fold him. So after about 4 months of negotiations, I finally got the contract for his last biggest client. They signed with me. That was the nail in his coffin. After I signed it, 5 days later, I get a phone call from him. Hey, I want you to just buy it all. Take it all. I'm done. I am done. So, we have to go. We have to sit at a table at this point because we got to work it out. There's a lot of equipment to be purchased. There's remaining clients that have to be signed and all that stuff. So I called the owners of my company. There's 2 of them. And we all went and met the other guy. Now, the guy we're negotiating with on the other side just happened to be the owner also. He owned his company. I was the operations manager of this company. All right. While we're sitting in the office, there was obviously a tremendous amount of animosity between me and him. This guy's been running his mouth for years about me, saying all kinds of bad things, and I'd had enough of his shit. And the few times I did see him, I told him, dude, I've had enough of your shit. If you want to go down this road, we will go down this road. So while we're sitting there at the table trying to negotiate the final deal, because now I got to buy all of his equipment. I mean, I don't have to. I can just say, piss off, take it all. But, we got all of his business. We need the trucks. We need the equipment. So we're just going to buy it all from him. So, of course, while we're sitting in there trying to hammer everything out, he opens his mouth again. And I had had enough. I slammed my fist on the table, stood up, and I tore into his ass. I'd had enough. I could have come across that table and ripped his freaking head off. And one of the owners, who happened to be a doctor, literally grabbed me by my ear and yanked me out of there. And of course, he's my boss. So I went and he's like, dude, you got to stop. And I was so mad. I said, if he says one more thing to me while we're in this office, I said, I swear to God, He will not walk out of this place because we had that much hatred between us. He and I could not negotiate a deal. We simply couldn't do it. So the two owners had to be the buffers, all right? They could get along with him. They could get along with me, knowing we could not get along with each other. There's the synopsis right here. This moron says, well, why are you aligning yourself with Putin? Are you serious? Zelensky hates Putin. Putin hates Zelensky. If I hate Putin, how's the deal going to be made? I have to align myself with everybody to get everybody to the table. This is not that hard to understand unless you're Rachel Madcow, who simply doesn't understand anything, or Cory Booker, that communist, that American-hating moron. All right? That's how a deal works. If you want to get a deal to a table, there has to be some kind of, I don't really like you, but I can get along with you. I don't really like you, but I can get along with you. There has to be some common ground. If you eliminate all common ground, which me and my competitor had, we had no common ground. So I had to have the owners there to negotiate the deal, knowing he and I could never get it that far. That's how this works. Donald Trump is the owners of the business. All right? Zelensky, say he's me for the love of God. Say Putin is my competitor. Those two are never going to get it worked out without that buffer. That is Donald Trump.
Question. Yeah, please.
I want to respond to this. So look, for 4 years in the United States of America, we had a president who stood up at press conferences and talked tough about Vladimir Putin, and then Putin invaded Ukraine and destroyed a significant chunk of the country. The path to peace and the path to prosperity is maybe engaging in diplomacy. We tried the pathway of Joe Biden, of thumping our chest and pretending that the President of the United States' words mattered more than the President of the United States' actions. What makes America a good country is America engaging in diplomacy. That's what President Trump is doing.
All right, now right here is where things start to go wrong. Okay, J.D. Vance hit the nail on the head. There has to be diplomacy. Us throwing endless amounts of money and ammunition into this war, that's not diplomacy. Nothing's going to happen. The two sides are going to continue to fight until somebody's dead. It's literally that simple. It doesn't get any simpler than that. It is very black and white. There's no shades of gray here. This war continues on in its current pace until somebody dies. It's that simple. Donald Trump, and you got to remember, Barack Obama, don't cross this line. Piss off. Putin crossed the line, started a war. Obama did nothing. Joe Biden, I got one word, don't. Putin started a war. Biden did nothing. Enter Donald Trump, the one president between two wars where there were no wars, that Putin did not invade anybody, was during Donald Trump's presidency. Now Donald Trump's here and he's like, hey, I can stop this. You got to work with me and let me do what I do. He is the consummate, like I said, the consummate deal maker. Let me do what I do. I will get this stopped. And that is the only way this is going to happen, is for Donald Trump to let them do what he does. He's the world's greatest deal maker. He's not, and of course the liberals, he's going to, Putin's trying to sucker him in. You can't sucker in Donald Trump. You cannot sucker him in. He is the world's greatest deal maker. If he feels something shady, don't think for a second Donald Trump will not get up and walk away. And at that point, if that were to happen, then Donald Trump would say, all right, Zelensky, what do you need? We're ending this war. Then Donald Trump would say, you know what? Putin now pissed me off. Let's end this shit. That'd been the best thing for Zelensky to do. But instead, right here, Zelensky, this is where he crosses the line and he starts saying things that has nothing to do with this meeting whatsoever.
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So he occupied our parts, big parts of Ukraine, part of East and Crimea. So he occupied it on 2014. So during a lot of years, so I'm not speaking about just Biden, but those time was Obama, then President Trump, then President Biden, now the President Trump, and God bless, now President Trump will stop him. But during 2014, nobody stopped him. He just occupied and took. He killed people. You know what the contact line?
2015.
2014.
2014 and 2014.
Well, 2014.
Yeah. So
I was,
he killed,
I was not here.
Yeah, but
That's exactly
but,
right.
Yes, but during 2014 till 2022, yeah, the situation the same. The people have been dying on the contact line. Nobody stopped him. You know that we had conversations with him, a lot of conversation, my bilateral conversation, and we signed with him. Me, like a new president in 2019, I signed with him the deal. I signed with him, Macron and Merkel, we signed ceasefire. Ceasefire. All of them told me that he will never go. We signed him gas contract. Yes, but after that, he broken this ceasefire. He killed our people and he didn't exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about? What do you mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy.
Okay, before I let him answer, this is what we're talking about right here. All right? This is not what this meeting's about. This has nothing to do with this meeting, and he's wanting some kind of guarantee that Putin's never going to break the deal, and nobody can give him that guarantee. You cannot stop a maniacal dictator and say, well, I guarantee he's never going to do this. It's never going to happen. This is this was the wrong thing for him to say at the wrong time, at the wrong place, something the liberals simply don't understand. They're instantly jumping on Donald Trump's back. Well, Donald Trump was wrong and he humiliated Zelensky. Absolutely not. Zelinsky is 1,000% in the wrong here. And I got to be honest, how MSNBC and CNN can actually report the opposite is beyond me. And why anybody even watches it. If you watch those channels, you should be ashamed of yourself. You should absolutely be ashamed of yourself. And if you're not smart enough to figure out what's really going on here, then you know what? It doesn't matter what you watch because you don't have enough brain power to be informed on what's going on anyway. But right here is where J.D. Vance starts to get in an uproar because what Zelinsky just did right here, he's basically asking for a guarantee. If I do this, give you this mineral rights, what can you guarantee me that he's never going to do this again? Well, we can't. That's like saying I'm guaranteeing you there's never going to be another war. I'm guaranteeing you nobody is ever going to get cancer again. This is an absolutely idiotic thing for Zelinsky to say, and this is what got it started right here.
That's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you are
Mr.
not
President,
strong...
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the President for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Come once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military?
We have problems.
And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems, even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future.
Right there. So basically what he's saying, well, since you have an ocean, you don't have the problems we have, so our problem is your problem. Absolutely not. Your problem has nothing to do with us. And trust me, just because there's an ocean between us and them, that has nothing to do with war. We've been in 2 world wars, and there's a lot of oceans between us and between them. But guess what? We're in them anyway. We've been in multiple wars across our oceans. That was an absolutely stupid thing for him to say. And basically what he's saying is, well, since you got an ocean, you can just kind of sit over here and do nothing and not worry about it. That's literally what he's saying. When we're the ones trying to stop the war and put peace between these 2 countries before millions more people die. This is not hard to understand, but apparently it's hard for Zelinsky to understand. And like J.D. Vance said, this is the wrong place and the wrong time. You do not bring this up with all these cameras pointing at us with a live American audience, a live world audience, because everybody in the world's watching this, and you bring this up now when we're here to talk about a mineral deal? Are you serious?
Bless,
You don't know that.
God bless.
You don't know
God
that.
bless. You
Don't-
will not have
gotta-
a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering on this
position to
question.
dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly what
this.
you're
I'm not
You're
dictating.
in no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
You
We're
will-
going to feel very
you will
good.
feel influenced.
We're going to feel very
I'm
good and
telling
very
you,
strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about
From
it.
the very beginning of the war,
You're not
Mr.
in a
Brown,
good position.
I
You don't
was
have
in
the cards right now. With us, you start having
not playing
cards. But
cards.
right now, you
I'm
don't. Yeah,
very
you're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're
I'm
gambling
the
with the
president
lives
in
of
war.
millions of people.
You think-
You're gambling with World War
What do you-
III.
what do you
You're
think about?
gambling with
What do you
World
think
War
about?
III. And
You-
what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country.
I'm
That's
with
back
all
to you.
respect to your
Far
country.
more than a lot of people said
very
they
respect.
should have.
Have you said thank you once?
A lot of times.
No, in this
Even
entire meeting,
today.
have you said thank you?
Even today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for
What-
the United
what
States
are
of
you
America
speaking about?
and the president who's trying to save your country.
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war, you
He's
can...
not speaking loudly. He's not
Yeah.
speaking loudly. Your country's
Can I-
in big
can-
trouble.
can I
Wait a
answer?
minute. No.
Can
You've
I
done a lot
answer?
of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not
I
winning.
know.
You're not winning this.
I...
You have a damn good chance of
we are
coming out
staying,
okay because of
Mr.
us.
President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
You haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet,
You
and
haven't
not
been
only
alone.
in this cabinet.
We gave you, through
I
this
said thank
stupid
you.
president, $350 billion.
You voted
we gave
for
you
your
military
president.
equipment,
You
and you
voted
men
for
are
your
brave,
president.
but they had to use our military.
What about
if,
West
if you didn't have
You
our
invited
military
me-
equipment,
you invited
if
me
you
to
didn't
speak-
have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3
okay?
days, I heard it from Putin. In 3 days, this is something
Maybe
new.
less.
In 2 weeks, of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this, I tell you.
Just say thank you.
I said a lot of
Except
times
that
thank
there-
you
except
to
that-
American people.
Except that there are disagreements, and let's go litigate those disagreements rather than trying to fight it out in the American media when you're wrong. We know that you're wrong.
But you see, I think it's good for the American people to see what's going on over here. I think it's very important. That's why I kept this going so long. You have to be thankful. You don't have the
I'm
cards.
thankful.
You're buried there. Your people are dying.
tell you
You're
again,
running
I
low
know.
on soldiers.
Don't-
Listen,
don't, please,
you're running
Mr.
low on
President.
soldiers. It would be a damn good thing.
Mr.
And then
President.
then you tell us, I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. I want to go and I want this. Look, if you could get a ceasefire right now, I tell you, you take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop getting killed.
Of course, we want to stop the war.
But
But
you're
I
saying
said,
you don't want a ceasefire.
But I said to you,
I want a ceasefire.
with guarantees.
Because you'll get a ceasefire faster than an agreement.
Ask our people.
Right there. I want a ceasefire with guarantees. What guarantees? The guarantees that if Russia comes back in there, that we're going to send American troops over there to fight your war for you? No. Nobody's going to give you that guarantee. That is an insane guarantee for any country to make. I don't see France saying, hey, if Putin invades, we're going to come over there and fight your war for you. I don't see the UK doing that. I don't see anybody doing that. But he's sitting here in our Oval Office and he's making demands. He's making demands. In order for me to give you these rare earth rights, I want guarantees that you're going to do A, B, C, D. No way. There's no way. We're already in the hole $350 billion. You should be giving us the rare earth mineral rights at this point, because without us, you wouldn't even be here to have this conversation. Putin would have already steamrolled your country. This is the one man that is trying to save your country. And like he said, if a ceasefire is on the table, let's take it. Well, I don't want a ceasefire. I want the guarantees. No, idiot. Take the ceasefire because that gives you time to think and regroup without millions of people dying. This is not that hard to understand. Why is Zelinsky having such a hard time understanding it?
About ceasefire, what they think.
That
It
wasn't
doesn't
with
matter
me.
for you what.
That
what
wasn't
this
with me.
nation- it
That was
wasn't
with
you.
a guy named Biden, who was not a smart person.
But this
That
is
was
your,
with,
this
that was
is
with
your
Obama.
president. It was your president.
Excuse me. That was with Obama, who gave you sheets, and I gave you javelins.
Yes.
I gave you the javelins to take out all those tanks. Obama gave you sheets. In fact, the statement is Obama gave sheets and Trump gave javelins. You got to be more thankful, because let me tell you, you don't have the cards. With us, you have the cards. But without us, you don't have any cards.
One more question to Mr. Vice President. I'm sorry.
Going to be a tough deal to make, because the attitudes have to change.
What if Russia breaks ceasefire? What if Russia breaks peace talks? What do we do then? I understand that it's a heated conversation right now.
What are you saying?
What if
She's asking, what if Russia
Putin
breaks the ceasefire?
What if anything? What if a bomb drops on your head right now? Okay? What if they broke it? I don't know. They broke it with Biden because Biden, they didn't respect him. They didn't respect Obama. They respect me. Let me tell you, Putin went through a hell of a lot with me. He went through a phony witch hunt where they used him and Russia. Russia. You ever hear of that deal? That was a phony Hunter Biden, Joe Biden scam. Hillary Clinton, Shifty Adam Schiff. It was a Democrat scam. And he had to go through that. And he did go through it. We didn't end up in a war. And he went through it. He was accused of all that stuff. He had nothing to do with it. It came out of Hunter Biden's bathroom. It came out of Hunter Biden's bedroom. It was disgusting. And then they said, oh, the laptop from hell was made by Russia, the 51 agents. The whole thing was a scam. And he had to put up with that. He was being accused of all that stuff. All I can say is this. He might have broken deals with Obama and Bush, and he might have broken them with Biden. He did, maybe. Maybe he didn't. I don't know what happened. But he didn't break them with me. He wants to make a deal. I don't know if you can make a deal. The problem is I've empowered you to be a tough guy. And I don't think you'd be a tough guy without the United States. And your people are very brave. But you're either going to make a deal or we're out. And if we're out, you'll fight it out. I don't think it's going to be pretty, but you'll fight it out. But you don't have the cards. But once we sign that deal, you're in a much better position. But you're not acting at all thankful. And that's not a nice thing. I'll be honest, that's not a nice thing. All right, I think we've seen in...
And that's kind of how everything transpired. And I completely understand, and I'm going to say it now, and if there are any liberals watch this and you all want to send me, your typical liberal rants, where you all like to call me racist for some unbelievable reason. I actually had one get on here and say I was a racist. Then when I commented back to her, she said, well, I never said you were racist. And then I took the very section out of her comment and put it back. I said, that is literally calling me a racist. Because I was talking about how, Joy Reid is a racist. And then somehow that ends up me being a racist. So, for all the liberals who want to leave comments and stuff like that, it's totally fine. Because I'm right, you're wrong. It's pretty much that simple. I back what Donald Trump did. I back what J.D. Vance did. Zelensky is 100% wrong in what he did. This deal was for one thing, to make a deal on the mineral rights. That's it. Then he starts asking, well, I want guarantees. That's not what this meeting's about. That's not what this meeting is about. If I'm going to the car dealership to buy a car, I'm not going to sit there and talk about buying the entire damn car dealership. I'm going to talk about buying the car. And like he said, if we get a chance for a ceasefire, let's take it, because that gives us time to regroup. That gives us time to think and see how Putin reacts. And Zelensky is so thick-headed, he's not going to take this chance. And in my personal opinion, he shot himself in the foot, big time. Because even if everything works out the way Trump wants it to, and we get a deal on the table, now Donald Trump's always going to have that eye on Zelinsky, because it doesn't look like Zelensky, it doesn't look like he wants this thing to end. It looks like he wants us to keep giving him billions of dollars, or give us billions of dollars for him to continue to fight, or he wants us to go fight the war for him. And I'm sorry. We should not do either one at this point. This is a chance for Zelensky to stand up and say, you know what, let's make this deal. Let's stop the body count. But instead, he does this, which leads me to believe that Zelensky loves the body count. Because why else? If you have an opportunity to stop the murdering today, regardless of what's going to happen tomorrow, if you can stop it today, you stop it for the day. You regroup, you rethink, you re-strategize. You don't go in there and smack the guy in the mouth that's trying to stop the murdering.